Hello students, welcome to our online platform. Myself Engineer PP sir, your physics mentor. In today's lecture we are going to study about properties of solid materials. So properties of solid materials generally is related to their elasticity property. So today's topic is based on elasticity. So let us talk this topic in detail. Whenever we talk about elasticity property, then first that point which comes in our mind is interatomic forces. Interatomic forces. So interatomic forces are the force between atoms due to electrostatic interaction between the charges of atoms are called interatomic forces. So whenever we talk about force acting between two atoms, so there is an interatomic force which is due to electrostatic attraction. So it is generally known as force due to electrostatic attraction. So such type of forces are known as interatomic forces. These forces are electrical in nature and these are active if the distance between the two atoms is of the order of atomic size. It means these are electrical in nature. So these forces are electrical in nature because whenever we talk about these forces, there is electrostatic attraction and active if distance between the two atoms is of order of atomic size 10 to the power minus 10 meter. So size of atom is almost 1 angstrom, means 10 to the power minus 10 meter. Next, every atom is electrically neutral. So whenever we talk about any atom, then every atom is electrically neutral. The number of electrons orbiting around the nucleus is equal to number of protons of the nuclei. So see, whenever we talk about, let us say this is nuclei of an atom plus Ze, and these are different orbits. So in these orbits, electrons revolve around this nuclei. So here, whenever we talk about any atom, then we can say that in any atom, number of electrons orbiting in nuclei, orbiting around the nuclei is equal to number of protons of the nuclei. It means that is electrically neutral. They are electrically neutral. So if two atoms are placed at a very large distance from each other, then there will be a very small interatomic force working between them. So now we say that there are two atoms which are placed at large distance from each other. Then due to larger separation, there is poor, or you can say feeble interatomic force. Feeble interatomic force. Then when these two atoms are brought close to each other to a distance of order of 10 to the power minus 10 meter. So in this condition, if we place them at such a distance that it is equal to size of atom, then in that condition, positive nuclei and negative electron clouds get disturbed, and due to this, attractive interatomic force is produced between two atoms. So simple thing is that if we talk about separation between these two atoms, if these separation between these two atoms is decreased, then force of attraction increases, because one is of positive nature and another one is of negative nature, and we know that electrostatic force is F proportional to 1 upon R square. So in this condition, we can clearly see that if separation between these two atoms will be greater, then interatomic force, or you can say electrostatic force, will be decreased, and if separation is decreased, then force will be increased. It means here, if these two charges or if these two atoms are of different nature, then we can say that electrostatic force will increase or attraction will increase. Next, this attractive force increases continuously with decrease in R. So I have explained this thing, that if R will be decreased, then interatomic force will increase and becomes maximum for the value of R, called critical distance, which is represented by X. Clear? Beyond this, the attractive force starts decreasing rapidly with further decrease in the value. So see, you are given this graph. This is attraction and this is here force. Here we can see this is the nature of this curve. this is the separation, or you can say distance r. So if we plot graph between this force, interatomic force, and separation between these atoms, then initially it decreases, this force decreases, and at a certain value it increases in negative. So here this distance, this total distance is known as critical distance. This x is critical distance. So this is the variation of interatomic force with the distance. Now when the distance between the two atoms becomes r naught, the interatomic force will be 0. Interatomic force will be 0. So r naught means if r is equal to r naught, then force becomes equal to 0. So here this r naught is called normal or equilibrium distance. Equilibrium means that here there is no force applied, or there is interatomic force becomes 0. So R naught is 0.74 angstrom for hydrogen. So see, this R naught varies for different atoms. When the distance between the two atoms further decreased, the interatomic forces becomes repulsive. So I have clearly explained these all topics here, that F is inversely proportional to R square. You have to simply keep in mind this thing. F is inversely proportional to R square. If separation will decrease, then interatomic force will increase, and vice versa. The potential energy U is related with interatomic force by this relation. So we have seen this relation in our topic work, energy and power. This interatomic force is equal to negative of change in potential energy with the distance. It means if potential energy increases with the distance, then here interatomic force decreases, because here we are having a negative symbol. When two atoms are at very large distance, the potential energy is negative and becomes more negative as R is decreased. So we have clearly seen this relation, that if U is at large, if two atoms are at large distance, it means R is higher, then potential energy is negative. So this energy is negative, and in this condition becomes more negative as R is decreased. So if R will be decreased, then potential energy will be more negative. When distance between the two atoms becomes r naught, it is r naught, the potential energy of the system of two atoms becomes minimum, that is attains maximum negative value. As the state of minimum potential energy is the state of equilibrium, hence two atoms at separation r naught will be at state of equilibrium. So see, we can also define equilibrium condition based on potential energy. So if we say that potential energy is negative, then it shows stability, or you can say equilibrium condition. Equilibrium condition. Clear? So it is potential energy for hydrogen. So we no need to memorize these values. We have to simply keep in mind the concept of potential energy and equilibrium condition for different interatomic forces. Now see, when the distance between the two atoms is further decreased, the negative value of potential energy of system starts decreasing, and it becomes 0, and then attains positive value with further decrease in R. So simply we know the relation that F is equal to minus du upon dr, and if we talk about U, potential energy, then it is minus F dr. It is minus F dr. So you can find value of potential energy from here. So it is mentioned here that when distance between the two atoms is decreased, so if R is decreased, then negative value of potential energy starts decreasing. So if R will be decreased, then U will be decreased, means negative value will decrease, and at a particular value this negative, it becomes 0, and then it will be in positive side. It means it will disturb away, and it will move away from equilibrium condition. Now intermolecular forces. So now, until now we have discussed interatomic forces. So conclusion in interatomic forces is simple, that interatomic forces simply acts between two atoms, and here we have studied that whenever there is a force between two atoms, then it depends separation between them. So I have explained it in detail that F is inversely proportional to R square. Then we discussed about equilibrium conditions based on potential energy. So that is so simple. Now intermolecular forces. So the forces between the molecules due to electrostatic interaction. So same thing is here again. Now intermolecular force acts between two or more molecules. These forces are also called van der Waals forces. So intermolecular forces are also known as van der Waals forces and quite weak as compared to interatomic forces. Interatomic forces के comparison में बच्चों ये होंगे weak. These forces are also electrical in nature and these are active if separation between the molecules is of size order of molecular size, means almost 10 to the power minus 10 meter, or you can say nanometer. So only simple difference between interatomic and intermolecular forces till now is that interatomic forces are stronger than intermolecular forces. These forces are known as van der Waals forces, and rest things are same. Interatomic forces acts between two atoms, and here intermolecular forces acts between two molecules, and nature is that their nature is electrical. Then next thing, it is found that force of attraction between the molecules varies inversely as seventh power of distance. So here it is given that F molecular is inversely proportional to R to the power 7. It means if R increases, means separation between the molecules increases, then force of attraction decreases. Here A is a constant, negative constant. So the negative sign indicates that the force is attractive in nature. So this intermolecular force will also be always attractive in nature. Attractive in nature. Now, when the distance between molecules become less than R naught, the forces becomes repulsive in nature and is found to vary inversely as 9th power of distance. So see, here variation is quite different from interatomic forces. Here, if R is less than R naught, then you have two concepts in mind. Then when R is less than R naught, then this relation becomes inversely proportional to R to the power 9, and we can say see, and in previous slide we have seen that if R is greater than R naught, in that condition it will be reverse or inversely proportional to R to the power 7. Now, therefore force between two molecules is given by F is equal to F attraction plus F repulsive. F attraction कब हुआ बच्चों? F attraction when R is greater than R naught. Repulsive कब हुआ यहाँ पर? When R is less than R naught. In that case there will be repulsion between these two molecules. So the value of constants A and B depends on the structure and nature of the molecules. So these constants are molecule dependent and structure dependent. Intermolecular forces between two molecules has the same general nature as shown in figure for interatomic forces. So variation will be same. We have studied this variation. So variation is quite same. This way force will vary with respect to distance. Now potential energy. So potential energy can be approximately expressed by the formula U is equal to A upon R to the power n plus B upon R to the power m, where the term A upon Rn represents repulsive contribution and B upon Rm represents attractive contribution. So we have simply seen in intermolecular forces that net force depends on how much amount of attraction and repulsion is there. Simply in potential energy also we can include both the terms, that some amount of energy is due to repulsion and some amount of energy is due to attraction. Constants A and B and numbers m and n are different for different molecules. So A, B, and m, these values depends which molecule is being used. For majority of solids, n is equal to 12 and m is equal to 6. So potential energy can be expressed as U is equal to A upon R to the power 12 minus B upon R to the power 6. So you have seen in many numerical questions this relation A upon R to the power 12 minus B upon R to the power 6. So this relation is given for general solids. General solids. Clear? So this is the potential energy. Now, comparison between interatomic and intermolecular forces. So if we talk about their similarities, then similarities are both the forces are electrical in origin. So we have discussed in previous slides that they are electrical in origin or electrical in nature, we can say. Both the forces are attractive over short distances. So this also can be seen that for smaller distances they are attractive in nature, and if distance increases then they become repulsive. General shape of force distance graph is similar for both the forces. So I have explained both the graphs that force and distance variation is similar for intermolecular and interatomic forces. Now, both the forces are attractive up to certain distances between atoms molecules and become repulsive when distance between them becomes less than that value. So we have clearly seen that if R is equal to R naught, then equilibrium condition. So basic conclusion is, I am writing down here, R is equal to R naught represents equilibrium, whether it is interatomic force or intermolecular force. If R is greater than R naught, then it is repulsive in nature. And if R is less than R naught, then it is, if R is greater than R naught, then it is repulsive, and if R is less than R naught, then it is attractive. So becomes repulsive, and when distance between them less than that, then they become repulsive. पहले सही लिया था बच्चों अपन ने, ये हो गया R greater than R naught or R less than R naught. So these simple three conclusions you have to keep in mind, that if R is greater than R naught a certain distance, then there is equilibrium condition, and if distance is greater than that certain distance, then it becomes repulsive, and if that is smaller than, then it becomes attractive. Now dissimilarities, क्या differences है interatomic and intermolecular forces में? So interatomic force depends upon the distance between the two atoms, whereas intermolecular force depends upon distance between two molecules. This is first difference. Interatomic forces are about 50 to 100 times stronger than intermolecular forces. So we have also discussed this topic, that interatomic forces are stronger than intermolecular forces. Next dissimilarity, the value of R naught for two atoms is smaller than the corresponding value for the molecules. It means in case of molecules, R naught is smaller, R naught is greater, and in case of interatomic forces, R naught is smaller than that in molecules. Therefore, one molecule is not restricted to attract only one molecule, but can attract many molecules. So R naught is smaller, and we are concluding here that one molecule can attract more than one molecule, 2, 3, 4, any number of molecules, since the atoms of one molecule cannot bind the atoms of other molecule. Clear? States of matter. Now this is a simple introduction before starting the lecture. Our main topic starts from here. The three states of matter differ from each other due to the following two factors. So if we talk about states of matter, then we clearly know that there are three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. So the different magnitudes of the interatomic and intermolecular forces. So किन किन factors पे ये depend कर रहा है बच्चों यहाँ पर states of matter? It is depending on different magnitudes of interatomic and intermolecular forces, the extent of random thermal motion of atoms and molecules of a substance, which depends upon temperature. So another varying factor is random thermal motion. So random thermal motion is due to temperature dependence. So comparison chart of solid, liquid and gaseous states. So see, this is, I have clearly explained in previous slide that there are three states of matter, and these states can be distinguished or can be categorized in three ways by depending on two factors. First one is different interatomic and different intermolecular forces, and second one is random thermal motion due to temperature. So here we talk about property, shape, volume and density. So if we talk about solid, liquid and gases, then let us see how these three properties vary according to their states. So shape, so if we talk about shape of solid, then it is definite. Shape of solid is definite, but if we talk about shape of liquid and gas, then they are not definite. Not definite shapes. Then volume. So volume of any solid again is definite. Volume of liquid also definite, but volume of gas is not definite. We cannot define or we cannot definite the gas volume of the gas. Then density. So solid particles में क्या होगा बच्चों? Particles are much closer to each other. So if we talk about density of solids, then it is maximum. It is less than solids and more than gases, and minimum density is there for gases. So these three properties are explained for these three states of a matter. Then compressibility. So compressibility factor की अगर अपन बात करें तो there is least compression or you can say negligible compression in case of solids. So solids are incompressible. Solids are incompressible. Compressibility of liquids is greater than solids and less than gases, and gases are compressible. You can say, or you can say highly compressible. Then crystallinity. So solids are crystalline, liquids are non-crystalline, and we cannot give crystallinity concept for gases. Interatomic or intermolecular distance. So in case of solids, all the solids have different shapes and size, and their different atoms and molecules are arranged in a proper way. So if we talk about interatomic and intermolecular distances, then they are constant in case of solids, and in case of liquids and gases, these positions of molecules or atoms are variable. So we cannot say that the interatomic and intermolecular distance is constant. So not constant in case of liquid and gases. Then intermolecular force. So intermolecular force in solids is strongest. In case of solids, intermolecular force is strongest. In case of liquid, it is poor than solid and stronger than gas. Less than solid and more than gas. And interatomic forces in gas atoms is weakest force. Then we talk about freedom of motion. So freedom of motion. So in case of solids, molecules vibrate about their mean position but cannot move freely. So molecules vibrate about their mean position but cannot move freely. In case of liquid, molecules have limited free motion, and gaseous particles are free to move. So if we talk about freedom of motion, then in solids they vibrate about their mean position but not free to move, and liquids have some amount of freedom, or you can say greater freedom from solids, and gaseous in gas particles or in gas substances we talk about that they freely move, or their freedom of motion is greater than liquid and solids. Next is effect of temperature. So if we talk about effect of temperature for solids, then matter remains in solid form below a certain temperature. So there is a fixed temperature defined for every state. At a certain below a certain temperature, solid will be in solid form. Liquid are found at temperatures more than that of solids, and gases are found at temperature greater than that of solids and liquids. It means if we have to make any substance in gaseous state, then we have to rise the temperature which is greater than solid state and liquid state. Next, The fourth state of matter in which the medium is in the form of positive and negative ions is known as plasma. So generally we study about three states. Here we are talking about fourth state also, that if a matter is found in form of positive and negative ions, which is known as plasma. So plasma occurs in the atmosphere of stars, including the sun, and in discharging tubes. So this fourth state can be seen in sun, in stars, and in discharging tubes, which is plasma. So plasma is simply presence, or you can say collection of positive and negative ions. So the fourth state of matter in which the medium is in the form of positive and negative ions is known as plasma. Now see, type of solids. So we are talking here about different type of solids. So first one is, a solid is that state of matter in which its constituent atoms or molecules are held strongly at the position of minimum potential energy. So I have discussed earlier also, potential energy decides stability of matter. Stability of matter. Lower the potential energy, higher the stability. So here, if we talk about solid state, then in case of solid state, what should be there? That the atoms or molecules should be held together strongly at the position of minimum potential energy, and it has a definite shape and volume. Solid should have definite shape and volume. We have discussed in previous slides. The solids can be classified into two categories: crystalline and glassy, or glassy को हम और भी कह सकते हैं बच्चों amorphous. So solids can be categorized into two parts: crystalline or glassy, or you can say amorphous. So let us compare these two types of solids. So comparison chart of crystalline and amorphous solids. So crystalline solids, the constituent atoms, ions or molecules are arranged in a regular repeated 3D pattern. So what you can say, crystalline solids are arranged in regular 3D patterns. So here we can say that atoms, ions or molecules are arranged in a regular pattern, in a regular repeated 3-dimension pattern within the solid. While in case of amorphous or glassy solids, constituent atoms, ions or molecules are not arranged in a regular repeated 3D pattern within the solid. It means their positions are not fixed. Definite external geometric shape. So external shape is definite, while in case of amorphous, no regularity in external shape. External shape may vary, but in case of crystalline solids, external shape is constant, or you can say definite. All the bonds in ions, atoms or molecules are equally strong. In case of crystalline solids, bonding is strong, and here bonds are not equally strong. Next, they are anisotropic. Crystalline solids are anisotropic and amorphous solids are isotropic. They have sharp melting point. So for crystalline solids, melting point is sharp, while for amorphous solids, they do not have sharp melting point. Then crystalline solids have a long range order of atoms or ions or molecules in them. So long range order, and here they do not have long range order. So they are considered true and stable solids. So if we talk about true solids, then crystalline solids are true and stable solids, while they are not regarded as true and stable solids. So whenever we talk about stable or true solids, then there should be crystalline solid. Amorphous solids are not true and stable solids. Now, elastic property of matter. So now our main topic starts here. until now we discussed different patterns or different quantities which are useful to explain concept of elasticity. So elastic properties of matter. So elasticity is what? So let us say that an external force is applied on an object. Let us say this is our object, and if external force is applied on it and this force is removed, then if it regains its actual shape and size, then it is elastic in nature. So we can say that the property of matter by virtue of which a body tends to regain its original shape and size after the removal of deforming force. So as I explained you that if external force is applied on it, so external force is also known as deforming force. So if deforming force is removed from any matter and it regains its actual shape and size, then this property of that matter is known as elasticity, and that material or that substance or that matter is known as elastic matter. Then plasticity. So plasticity is what? If any deforming force or external force is removed from any matter or any substance, then it permanently deforms. It permanently deforms. Then such pattern or such property of that matter is known as plasticity. It means it do not regain its initial shape and size completely. So the property of matter by virtue of which it does not regain its original shape and size after the removal. So here is permanent deformation. Here is permanent deformation. So if we talk about elastic and plastic materials, then example of elastic material is spring. If you stretch spring, so that stretching is deforming force, or you can say is external force, and if you remove that external force, then spring regains its actual shape and size. Then its property is elasticity, and that spring is known as elastic material. And if we talk about plastic materials, then you can take any example. Let us say you are having a bucket of PVC, polyvinyl chloride, and you applied an external force on it and you remove, then there is permanent deformation in its shape and size. It do not regain completely its actual shape and size. Then perfectly elastic bodies. So perfectly elastic bodies, on removal of deforming forces, if a body regains completely its actual shape and size, complete regain of actual shape and size denotes perfect elastic body. So if on the removal of deforming forces the body regains its original configuration completely, so here you have to keep in mind that complete regain of initial shape and size represents perfect elastic nature of any body. A quartz fiber and phosphor bronze. Phosphor bronze is an alloy of copper containing 4% to 10% tin, 0.05% phosphorus, is the nearest approach to the perfectly elastic bodies. So in nature, there is no perfect elastic body, but we can consider up to an extent that quartz fiber and phosphor bronze are perfect elastic materials. Phosphor bronze and quartz fiber. Now, perfectly plastic bodies. So perfectly plastic bodies, if deforming force is removed from any body and there is permanent deformation, then such type of bodies are perfectly plastic bodies. So if the body does not have any tendency to recover its original configuration, so no tendency to recover its original configuration means permanent deformation. So example of perfect plastic body, paraffin wax, wet clay are the nearest approach. So we do not consider that they are perfect plastic bodies. No, they are nearest approach, almost perfect plastic. So paraffin wax and wet clay. Then region of elasticity. So what is the region of that plasticity in different materials? So in solids, atoms and molecules are arranged in such a way that each molecule is acted upon by the forces due to neighboring molecules. These forces are known as intermolecular forces. So see, if we talk about solids, then elasticity nature is basically defined based on intermolecular forces. For simplicity, the two molecules in the equilibrium positions means R is equal to R naught, are shown by connecting them with a spring. So here, this is the graph. So see, these forces are responsible for elastic nature. Assume that if we apply an external force on it, so external force is applied, strings are stressed, and if external force is removed, then they regain their initial shape and size. So such type of forces are responsible for elasticity nature. In fact, the spring connecting the two molecules represents the intermolecular forces. So spring is what? Intermolecular force को represent कर रही है बच्चों यहाँ पर. The molecules either come closer or go far from each other, and restoring forces are developed. When the deforming force is removed, these restoring forces bring the molecules to the solid to their respective equilibrium positions, and hence body regains its actual form. So simply I have explained it that as we compress that solid, then it deforms, and if external force is removed, then it regains its actual shape and size. So it is due to intermolecular forces, which are spring-like forces. Now, elastic limit. So what is the elastic limit? So simply keep in mind the concept that if I am stretching a spring, I am stretching, and after a certain amount of deforming force I applied on that spring, and I removed that force, then spring do not regains its shape and size after a certain limit. After a certain limit, that certain limit up to which property of elasticity is available in that matter is known as elastic limit. So it depends on nature of body or nature of matter. For different matters, elastic limit is different. So elastic bodies show their property of elasticity up to a certain value of deforming force. So as I explained by having an example of spring, that if we apply a certain amount of any deforming force, then as up to a certain value they show property of elasticity, and if we keep on increasing that deforming force, then after a certain limit they will be permanent deformation or permanent disorder. So if we go on increasing the deforming force, then a stage is reached when on removing the force, the body will not regain or return to its initial state. The maximum deforming force up to which a body retains its property of elasticity is called elastic limit. So elastic limit of material is different for different body. It is the maximum deforming force up to which a body can get its initial shape and size. Elastic limit is the property of a body, whereas elasticity is the property of material of the body. So both things are different. Elastic limit is defined for whole body, whereas elasticity property is defined for material used in that body. Now see, elastic fatigue. So elastic fatigue is what? The temporary loss of elastic properties because of the action of repeated alternating deforming force. If we repeatedly applying a deforming force on different bodies, then there is some loss of elastic property. So this is known as deforming fatigue. Deforming fatigue. So you can keep in mind simply deforming fatigue is what? Temporary loss of elasticity due to repeated deforming forces. So it is due to this reason bridges are declared unshaped after a long time of their usage. So what happens if bridges are used for longer time period, then their nature of elasticity or property of elasticity decreases. Spring balances show wrong readings after they have been used for a long time. So this is also because we continuously use that weighing balance or spring balance for measuring for the different weight. So for repeated uses or repeated deforming forces we applied on that, then it lost some deforming, it lost some elasticity property, hence it will show wrong readings. We are able to break the wire by repeated bending. So it is also the example of loss of elasticity, or you can say elastic fatigue, that if a wire is repeatedly bended from any certain place, then that wire can be break. Elastic after effect. So elastic after effect shows, it simply gives the concept of time delay. It simply gives the concept of time delay. So elastic after effect is the time delay in which the substance regains its original condition after the removal of deforming forces. So in many substances you might have seen in your daily life that as external force is removed, they instantly regains initial shape and size. But some substances are like, if you remove any deforming forces, then they regain their actual shape and size in a certain time. So that time delay is elastic after effect. Like you are sitting on a sofa of a sponge, and as you move away from that sofa, then that sofa regains its actual shape and size in a certain time interval. So that time delay is known as elastic after effect. It is the time for which restoring forces are present after the removal of the deforming force in it. Force. It is negligible for perfectly elastic substances like quartz, phosphor, bronze, and large for glass fiber. So ग्लास फाइबर में बच्चों इलास्टिक आफ्टर इफेक्ट ज्यादा होगा. ग्लास फाइबर से एक्सटर्नल फोर्स रिमूव भी कर लिया तो भी इनिशियल शेप एंड साइज को गेन करने में वो टाइम लेगा. दैट टाइम डिले इज नोन एज इलास्टिक आफ्टर इफेक्ट. When a force is applied on a body, there will be relative displacement of the particles, and due to property of elasticity, an internal restoring force is developed which tends to restore to its original state. So another point can be seen, that when a force is applied on a body, then there will be relative displacement between the molecules, or you can say particles, and due to this property an internal restoring force develops which tends to regain its, or which tends to make it move in its actual shape and size, or you can say tends to restore the initial original state. The internal restoring force acting per unit area of cross sectional of the deformed body is known as stress. So what is stress? So stress is simply इंटरनल रिस्टोरिंग फोर्स डिवाइडेड बाय एरिया. यूनिट एरिया में कितना इंटरनल रिस्टोरिंग फोर्स एक्ट हुआ है, दैट इज नोन एज स्ट्रेस. At equilibrium, restoring force is equal in magnitude to external force. Stress can therefore also be defined as external force per unit area on a body that tends to cause it to deform. So you can simply define in both ways. We know that in case of elasticity, if external force or deforming force is applied, then particles displaces from actual position and they regain actual shape and size due to internal restoring force. So restoring force is equal in magnitude with the deforming force. So you can define it internal restoring force in unit area or deforming force in unit area. So this is its formula, that stress is equal to force upon area. Its SI unit is Newton per meter square and CGS unit is dyne per centimeter square. So this is the unit of stress. If we talk about its dimension, then its dimension is m1 l1 t minus 2 divided by l2, or you can say m1 l minus 1 t minus 2. So this is the dimension of stress. Now, so here it is written, dimension is m1 l minus 1 t minus 2. Stress developed in a body depends upon how the external forces are applied over it. So amount of stress on any body or any matter depends on how the external forces are applied over it. On this basis, there are two types of stresses. नॉर्मल एंड शेयर, नॉर्मल स्ट्रेस, शेयर स्ट्रेस। तो शेयर स्ट्रेस को और हम क्या कह सकते हैं, टेंजेंशियल स्ट्रेस। So let us discuss normal and shear stress. So normal stress, again, here the force is applied normal to the surface. So let us say this is any surface, and if normal force acts on it, then it will cause normal shearing. It is again of two types. Now see, shearing stress can also be defined into two parts, longitudinal and bulk or volume. Longitudinal and bulk or volume stresses. So longitudinal stress, it occurs only in solids. Longitudinal stress occurs only in solids. So it comes in picture when one of the three dimensions, length, breadth or height, is much greater than other two. Deforming force is applied parallel to the length and cause increase the length. Area taken for calculation of stress is of area of cross section. So simply if we talk about longitudinal stress, then what we can say, that if this is the substance which is solid in nature, if tangential force is, if force is applied parallel to its surface, then it can increase its length, and this length can be increased, breadth can be increased or height can be increased. Any one parameter can be changed. Next, longitudinal stress produced due to increase in length of a body under a deforming force is called tensile stress. So see, this longitudinal stress can be classified into two parts. One is tensile and another one is compressive. So in tensile, length is increased, and in case of compressive, length is decreased. In the both cases, longitudinal stress is there. It means variation in length, due to an external force or deforming force applying in unit cross sectional area. Now bulk or volume stress. So bulk or volume stress is simply applicable for liquid and gases, and in solids also. So it is applicable for solid, liquid or gases. In case of fluids, only bulk stress can be found. So if we talk about fluids means liquid and gas, then only bulk stress can be found. It produces change in volume and density, shape remaining same. There will be no change in shape, there will be simply change in volume and density of that fluid. Deforming force is applied normal to surface at all points. So we can say bulk or volume stress. So bulk or volume stress may occur in solid, liquid and gases, while in case of fluids, simply bulk stress is there, and it produces change in volume and density. Now, area for calculation of stress is the complete surface area perpendicular to the applied force. So in case of bulk stress, bulk or volume stress, complete area of surface, while in longitudinal stress we have discussed, in case of longitudinal we have discussed that only cross sectional area is used for measurement of stress, cross sectional area. It is equal to change in pressure, because change in pressure is responsible for change in volume. So here we can see that bulk stress is equal to this force which is normal to surface So I can say F normal upon area, and this F normal upon area can be represent change in pressure. So it is simply, it is equal to change in pressure, because change in pressure is responsible for change in volume. Now, shear or tangential stress. Shear or tangential stress. So it simply comes in our mind that whenever a force is applied, like let us say this is a board and I am applying a tangential force on it, and if its two or bottom sides are fixed, I am applying a tangential force on upper side, then these sides will be shifted by a certain angle. So it comes in picture when successive layers of solid move on each other. That is when there is a relative displacement between various layers of solids. So see, if these sides are moving like this by a certain angle, it means certain layers are moving due to relative displacement. Due to relative displacement. Here deforming force is applied tangential. So it is also clear, tangential to one of the faces. So let us say that this is any solid. This is any solid. These two sides are fixed and we are applying a tangential force. Then let us see, I am simply making it in 2D. These two sides are fixed and a tangential force is applied, then these vertical sides will replace or will shift relatively with each other like this. So if this is moving by an angle phi, then this will also move by an angle phi. So this causes relative displacement in the layers. Area for calculation is the area of the face on which force is applied. So see, here I have considered a cubical solid, and here I have considered simply one face on which tangential force is acting. So area for calculation is the area of face on which force is applied. So simply force is applied on a certain face of that cube. It produces change in shape, volume. So see, it simply change in shape. So shape में change हुआ है, there is no change in volume. There is no change in volume. So this is the like this. So I have explained it in diagram that this is cubical shape. This bottom one is fixed. And if tangential force is applied on this face, then these sides are shifted. Sides are shifted by certain angles. These are certain angles. Clear? Difference between pressure and stress. So what is the difference? So see, if we talk about pressure and stress, then numerically both are same. Pressure is also equal to force, normal force acting in unit area, and here stress is also restoring force upon area, or you can say deforming force upon area. So what are the differences between pressure and stress? So see, pressure is always normal to the area. So here I have explained that pressure is defined as normal force acting in unit area. So it is always normal to the area, while stress can be normal or tangential. तो नॉर्मल और टेंजेंशियल कुछ भी हो सकता है बच्चों. नॉर्मल की अपन ने बात करी लॉन्गिट्यूडिनल स्ट्रेस के केस में, एंड टेंजेंशियल की बात करी अपन ने शियर स्ट्रेस के केस में. सो नॉर्मल तो होगा लॉन्गिट्यूडिनल एंड बल्क स्ट्रेस में, एंड टेंजेंशियल होगा शियर स्ट्रेस के केस में. क्लियर? सो इट इज a certain specific case. Always compressive in nature. So if we talk about pressure, then it is always compressive in nature, while may be compressive or tensile. So we have seen in case of longitudinal, in case of bulk stress, it is always compressive in nature, but in case of longitudinal, it may be tensile or compressive, both. Let us see a question. A and B are two wires. The radius of A is twice that of B. They are stressed by the same load. Then the stress on B is So from here we are given that load applied is same. So stress is simply depends on area. Depends on area. Larger the area of cross section, smaller the stress applied. So radius of A is twice of B. So RA is equal to 2RB. So area of cross section is pi r square. So we can say, let us say stress of 1 is S1, stress of 2 is S2. So S1 upon S2 is equal to RB square upon RA square, or it is 1 upon 4. So let us find equal to that on A. No, 4 times that on A. So from here you can say S2 is equal to 4S1. S2 is equal to 4S1. It means stress on second one is 4 times of stress on first one. So second option is correct. So that's it for today. आज के लेक्चर में बच्चों इतना ही अपन ने बात किया. बेसिक हमने इंट्रोडक्शन की बात करी यहाँ पर. व्हाट आर इंटर एटॉमिक इंटरमोलिकुलर फोर्सेज, हाउ स्टेबिलिटी इज डिफाइंड बेस्ड ऑन पोटेंशियल एनर्जी. We discussed about comparison of interatomic and intermolecular forces. We discussed different states of a matter, and then our main topic, elasticity, plasticity, and then stress. So that's it for today's lecture. In next lecture we will start with new topic based on elasticity. So thank you for watching today's video. Let us meet in next video, next lecture.